What is up, guys? It's Jake from Quad Hunting, and today is our recap of SummerSlam. I usually like to do these on Wednesdays because it gives us time to get Monday Night Raw and SmackDown out of the way so we can see what happened and where the storylines have progressed to. That way, it's not just... because if I would have done this Sunday night or Monday morning instead of now, it would have been a little more... it would have been a little different. Probably, I would have been more confused on some stuff then. But now that SmackDown and Raw have taken place, we got to see where some of the storylines are now heading, and it's just easier to do this now if they I don't even know what I'm going to say. Okay, moving on. But so the recap SummerSlam, we had the pre-show matches where the SmackDown tag match with all the tag teams from SmackDown, the Sami Zayn and Neville versus the Dudley Boys match, and then Cesaro and Sheamus's first match of the 7-match series they're going to have, which was announced is going to have some kind of title shot at the end of it. The winner of that series gets a title shot. It wasn't really determined what title shot yet, if it's going to be just like a United States or if it's actually going to be the Universal Heavyweight Championship title shot. So we'll have to see where that goes. But those matches, I didn't get to watch them. I haven't gone back and watched them yet. But you had the American Alpha, the Hype Bros, and the Usos did beat Breezango, the Ascension, and the Vaudevillains. And then on SmackDown, it was announced that they are going to have their own tag team division, separate from Raw's, where they're going to actually have their own belts. And personally, I like the belts. I know some people don't really like them. Don't think it's very creative, the belt designs they have now. For one, I like the SmackDown tag team belts. I like them a lot better than Raw's. Raw's are those black belts with those, like they call them the penny belt because it's the black belt with like the copper inside. It's the same design, same style, but it's a blue strap with a silver, instead of being copper in the middle, it's silver. Still the Spartans. I think it looks better. It's cleaner. I like the look of it better. I know some people don't like it because of this. It's not very creative. It's the same design, but as for me, I like that belt. I like it a lot better than I like the new Universal Championship, but more on that later. Sami Zayn and Neville beat the Dudley Boys, and then it was announced on Raw that the Dudley Boys are in fact retiring. Maybe? They did come out, say they were done, they were retired, and then the club came out, or the Shining Stars came out and then got beat down, got 3D'd. They went to get a table, and then the club came out and attacked the Dudleys. And so maybe there's a club Dudley boy rivalry coming up, but all the dirt sheets are sounding like it's the Dudley Boys are done. That was their last. They haven't renewed their contracts, but it was more of a mutual split instead of WWE trying to get rid of them or the Dudleys trying to leave. It was just mutually split. So, and then, like I said, the Cesaro-Sheamus matches, the first of 7. Sheamus won the first one, which I said is what they should do because Sheamus is the heel, Cesaro's the babyface. Babyface is better in a role where he's chasing instead of being in the lead, being the winner. So, I liked that match. I did watch this one because Cesaro is one of my favorites. It was pretty well done, and I enjoyed it overall. I will be excited to watch the other 6 if it goes the actual 7 matches. I don't know if it will or not. But then they started the show off with the first pick I got wrong. Enzo and Cass versus Jericho and Kevin Owens. I thought this feud was not really built well, so it was going to be Enzo and Cass winning because that's usually how it goes. When feuds aren't built well, the faces ended up winning. But it actually surprised me when Jericho and Kevin Owens won. On Raw, then they had to Jericho and Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens were put into matches to determine who would be in the Fatal 4-Way for the Universal Championship after the winner that I'm going to talk about later had to drop the belt because of injury. But so now they're fighting. Who knows if they're actually going to be a tag team. I said in the preview, if Kevin and Jericho win, I hope it's because they're building a tag team and it looks because of circumstances they can't control. That's not going to be the case. But Yeah, it was an alright match. SummerSlam just kind of bored me throughout the whole thing. It wasn't anything I thought was like really great. The crowd was dead, but I don't blame them for the most part because it's 6 hours of wrestling they had to watch if they started on the pre-show and went all the way to the end. So I can understand being tired, and especially if they were at TakeOver the night before, I can understand the crowd being dead. Still, the crowd adds into the match, and it would have been nice to have the crowd there, but I don't blame the crowd for not being there. So, yep, Enzo and Cass lost for my first failed prediction on SummerSlam. I can't remember the exact order the matches went, but I'm just going to go to the Intercontinental Championship match with The Miz and Apollo Crews, with The Miz winning. Apollo still doesn't have a character, still isn't really all there, so the big news, though, about The Miz is on Talking Smack, the show that airs after SmackDown with Renee Young and Daniel Bryan and guests throughout the whole show. The Miz was the last guest on the show, and Daniel Bryan called him a coward. He's a coward champion. He's not a fighting champion. He always wins by cowardly ways. But The Miz then replied with, who's still out? Pretty much, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have the exact script in front of me, what he said, the exact words, but he said pretty much, I'm the one that's still out here fighting. You said a year ago that you were going to come back and come get this belt again, but you haven't. You gave up on this because you don't love wrestling as much as I do. To which Daniel replied, I would if they would let me. And Miz then said, well, then why don't you quit? Do this job you don't want, or quit doing this job you really don't want to do, and why don't you go run off to all the indie show halls and be with all your indie friends and wrestle? If WWE won't let you leave and go wrestle for another company. It was pretty much the lines that The Miz said. To which Daniel Bryan got off and left. In the middle of Miz Heaven is going off on the best promo of the year. If you haven't seen it, look for it. Miz on Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan was the best promo I have seen all year, bar none. So yeah, there was not much of an Intercontinental Championship match. The Miz still holds the belt, which I think is good. The Miz is, I think, one of the best heels in the WWE. He's annoying, and that's what makes him a great heel. The New Day versus the Club. Actually, no, Sasha and Charlotte was the second match. I remember that now. Miz and Paolo wasn't, but anyways, New Day versus the Club ended up being the Club won via disqualification. So technically, I was right. I did say the Club would win. I did not say how they would win, so I have an asterisk next to that one for my record. But the Club ended up winning by disqualification when they were going to give Jonathan Stewart ring post-itis, which if you haven't been watching Raw lately, it's what they did to Big E when they each one grabbed one of his legs on the other side of the ring post and pulled him into it, thus driving his groin area into the post. And that had been a running gag between Doctors Anderson and Dr. Gallows for a while. But they were going to do it to Jon Stewart, who was an honorary New Day member, and Big E came out and then laid waste to the Club, thus getting the disqualification. So the Club won. New Day still the champs. The Club now have a good foundation set for a rematch. So it probably will happen. And then, so I'm gonna get in now. Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the WWE Women's Championship. They did announce one for SmackDown, but this is for the Raw Championship. Sasha ended up losing. I had that one wrong. I thought she was going to win because I did not know she was injured. It was kind of kept under wraps that Sasha was injured and was going to be needing to take at least the next month off, which got a lot of people worried because there were rumors about WWE suspending a lot of suspensions coming up after the whole Paige Del Rio and who was the third one? Paige Del Rio. I can't remember who's the third suspension. Oh, Eva Marie. Duh. There's a storyline about that. But yeah, Eva Marie got suspended with Paige and Del Rio. So there was a lot of rumors because Sasha had been taken off every booking from SummerSlam for the next, and it was like the next 33 days she was not booked for a match, any type of house shows, SmackDown, Raw, any of those pay-per-views. So a lot of people were worried that Sasha was getting suspended, But it ends up she's got an injury. It's going to be neat. She wants to, or not wants to, but WWE is going to let her sit out for about a month, get all healed up before she come back. That's why they put the belt on Charlotte and didn't let Sasha take it off and just take off for a month with the belt. So Charlotte did win the match and got the belt over Sasha. Then we had the John Cena versus AJ Styles match, which was match of the night. It was fantastic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have ever seen the second rope, the AA off the second rope kicked out of. So I think AJ, if I'm correct, AJ is the first person to have kicked out of that move, which is huge. AJ is a made man after beating Cena. It was a great match. False finishes were all over the place. So I enjoyed it. Check it out if you have the means of checking it out, because it was the match of the night. It was the best match. Like I said, AJ's a made man. Cena's looks like he's not going to be on TV for a while because of all the outside WWE activities he has. I know for sure he's not going to be at Backlash. But now we have AJ versus the winner of our next match that we're going to talk about, Dean Ambrose, facing for the SmackDown Championship, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which is, it already looks like to be a huge feud, a good feud. Hopefully it's more than one match, and they let these guys actually do stuff. But talking about Dean Ambrose, he did win against Dolph Ziggler. It was a match. It happened. Was never really in doubt that they were going to keep the belt on Ambrose. There was a good finish, a good false finish with Ziggler doing the zigzag on Ambrose, but otherwise it was just pretty much, it was all right. That's pretty much all I can say about it. Then you had Becky Lynch and Carmella, and Naomi versus Natalya, Alexa Bliss, and replacing Eva Marie, Nikki Bella. It was a little confusing them putting Nikki Bella on the heel team because she's got so much goodwill with the fans right now. Through her injury and the whole Cena, Brie, Daniel Bryan thing, how that's all working out. She's got so much goodwill with the fans, and she's so loved by all the girls that watch Total Divas. She's a big role model, so it was really weird for them to put them on the heel team. She ended up picking up the win on Carmella to beat Becky, Carmella, and Naomi, but the story is what happened on SmackDown last night, where Nikki and Carmella were going to have a match again, but Carmella goes heel, attacks Nikki to make Nikki now a face, where she should be when she came back. I don't know if I'd so much call it a churn for Nikki as they were throwing her out there just because they needed a sixth woman out there. They probably would have preferred to have her come out as a face, but they actually did do Eva's entrance. It's the most fascinating. I don't even know the whole entrance. But they did her whole entrance, and then the voiceover guy talks about how because of all the stress of performing in front of people who don't like her, Eva Marie is taking the next month off instead of saying, yeah, we suspended her because she's not good. She wasn't able to get her paperwork to us to prove that she has a prescription for Adderall. So that happened. But it looks now the women also got their championship on SmackDown. I really like the look of it. It looks like the women's championship on Raw, but instead of that red plate behind the logo, it's blue. Red for Raw, blue for SmackDown. But it's a nice looking belt. It's really well done. Again, a lot of people are like, well, it's not creative. Well, it doesn't need to be creative. I mean, you don't want these belts. You don't want it to happen what it did the first time the brand split, where this belt was considered better, this belt was considered worse. You want to try to make all the belts on the even playing field. That's why you all make them kind of look the same. UFC does it. A lot of their belts look the same. So I understand it. I like the belts. Yeah, it's not creative, but it doesn't need to be. That's the whole point. But the Universal Championship match, Finn Balor did beat Seth Rollins. It was a good match. This, again, story came after the match. Finn got injured during the buckle bomb thing where Seth did the power bomb into the barricade. It hurt Finn's shoulder. He's out for surgery. He's going to be out in the next 6 months, which, then gets all the people, well, Seth's not a safe worker. accidents happened. Yeah, they're happening more around Seth with the whole Sting buckle bomb incident with the neck. Cena with the nose, knee to the nose. You can't see knee. And then now Finn Balor. And there was a worry about Sami Zayn on Raw about injuring his ankle, but that has been cleared up. It is storyline injury. It's not a real injury. So Finn did end up winning the match, but had to drop the belt. Now there's a fatal 4-way with Owens. Who else is there? Owens, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. I can't remember the fourth guy right now. But it's a fatal 4-way that's supposed to happen, I think next week. It's not the next pay-per-view. I think it's next week. To determine who is going to be the next Universal Champion. A lot of people are worried it's going to be Roman Reigns, that they're just scrapping the whole Rusev program, which happened next. Rusev and Roman Reigns never actually happened. It was thrown out after Rusev was deemed not able to compete. After Roman just demolished him pre-match, they both went at it. Steel steps were involved. Stairs were involved. The bell never got rang. Roman beat down Rusev. Rusev was deemed not medically cleared to participate in the match. Roman left. Rusev started getting up, started walking towards the back, being helped by the referees. Roman came back down, speared him. Been perfect way to do a heel turn, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen anymore. Now with the Finn injury, they're having to scramble to get a new Universal Champion. A lot of people worried, like I said, that it's going to be Roman. They're just going to throw this out the door and just give Roman the championship. Who knows? We're not there yet. We'll worry about that when we get there. And then we close the night with the match that was a lot of people were really freaked out about afterwards, after it happened, with Brock and Orton. It was a weird match. Sometimes it looked like Orton wasn't doing anything. They was sandbagging Lesnar when Brock was doing the German suplexes. It looked like Orton was not helping that much and it was all on Brock. But then again, did it look like that because Orton is coming off a back injury and they didn't want to aggravate it again? The match went outside. Brock got Orton up on the table. Orton then hit an RKO on Brock, which broke the table. Randy was thrown through a table, like legitimately thrown through, not put on top, move done, table break. Brock picked up Orton and just threw him into the side of the table and it collapsed. That happened before the RKO. They got back in the ring. Orton got back in the ring. Brock crawled in. Orton hit that DDT from the ropes, which it looked awkward. A lot of people wondered if it legitimately pissed Lesnar off. And then they did Orton went for another RKO. Still wasn't enough. Kicked out at 2. And then Brock just went insane. There's rumors that there was no blood supposed to happen. It's supposed to be the technical knockout with no blood, but you can see where Brock very clearly busted open Orton with his elbow. It almost looked like legit MMA punches. Wrestlers backstage didn't even know how to react to this match. Like Jericho thought it was an actual, like Lesnar went off the book and was just beating the shit out of. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Beating the shit out of Orton. And because it looked like Orton wasn't really defended, Jericho thought it was an actual shoot. It was a shoot fight at that point, and confronted Lesnar backstage, to which a whole weird situation happened. But turns out it was booked to be that way. The blood wasn't supposed to be there, but Lesnar was supposed to win by technical knockout. The ending of the match was weird. Shane then came down after Lesnar keep beating on Orton after the match was called. And then was F5'd. What kind of pissed me off about that is how quickly Shane got up after being F5'd. I mean, when people get F5'd, you see them just like lay there like they look dead. Shane started moving before Brock was even off the entrance stage. So it looks like our next feud for Orton is going to be with Shane. Yay! I mean, you can't find someone to beat Orton. Why don't you just throw McMahon in there? You know, the guy who almost beat Undertaker at WrestleMania. So, overall, it was a really boring pay-per-view, like I said. I think it was just too long. It was too long. It was too much. They could have easily knocked off a couple of matches, made it 3 hours, and made it better. I know they're trying to make SummerSlam seem as important as WrestleMania, and the crowd was dead. There was just too much for the crowd. The crowd really makes pay-per-views sometimes and matches, and a lot of good matches were happening, and the crowd was just completely silent. Most of the time during the Finn Balor-Seth Rollins match, they were just booing the championship. They weren't booing what was happening in the match or cheering for what was happening in the match. They were booing the championship. So it helps when the crowd is into it, and 6 hours is just too much for a crowd to sit around. It felt like WrestleMania over again, except a little better. WrestleMania was just awful. The crowd was just dead during WrestleMania. The card was not booked well for WrestleMania. SummerSlam was at least a little better. But definitely wasn't as good as Battleground was last month. Battleground was probably the best pay-per-view of the year so far. Or Battleground. Yeah, Battleground was last month. Money in the Bank was before that. But, yeah, it was all right. I didn't really enjoy it too much. I mean, took forever. And at the end of it, I just wanted the match to be done between Orton and Lesnar so I could go to bed. That's how I felt about the pay-per-view. So, yep, that was my thoughts on SummerSlam and some of the events on Raw and Smackdown that took place after that. So if you liked the video, like it, share it with some friends, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, all that fun stuff. And I will talk to you guys next time. See ya.